Hi folks, just a little bit about myself before I start the video. I'm a returned Vietnam veteran. I joined the Australian Regular Army aged 17 in 1968 and served in Vietnam 1970-71. And the one thing that I was taught when I came back from Vietnam was that violence is the most primitive way of a man expressing himself toward another man. I had a brain aneurysm operation a few years back and asked my neurosurgeon, do we have a section of the brain called the R complex? He said yes. The letter R stands for reptilian, a section of the brain we share with reptiles and birds. Mental health problems such as post-traumatic stress disorders, panic disorders, obsessive disorders are thought to have their roots in this structure of the brain as such. Since man's evolutionary journey, it has remained undeveloped. This section of the brain is responsible for species' typical instinctual behaviours involved in aggression. Because of the invention of religion, and I say invention because God, Allah, Yahweh, he has many names, did not write any single word in any biblical texts, not one word. Man did, on behalf of the alien gods. In the Old Testament, in Genesis 1:26, God said, "Let us make humans in our image." The word "us" implies more than one God. And the ones that mixed their DNA with ours were and are gods. It says in the Old Testament, Genesis 6:4, that Nephilim were on earth in those days and also afterward, when the sons of God went into the daughters of humans who bore children to them. And there's the mention of two distinct races or species, sons of God and the daughters of humans. We are still slaves and have been since the Trinity of the Father, Son and Holy Spirit has been tampered with, has been changed completely to that of fear, superstition and chaos. Fear from the government, superstition from the church, and chaos from the masses that are ruled by the first two. So the tools of the New World Order are religion and politics. The aliens that operate in the background of the American government are quite happy to stay out of sight. Now, in 1954, former President Dwight Eisenhower signed the Greada Treaty with the well-known Greys. You know those little ones with the big eyes? Well, they had stipulations in the agreement, conditions as such. The alien Greys could experiment on animal livestock, and later on it involved experimentation on humans, on the proviso that they were to be returned safely, and this part of the treaty was broken. There was evidence of this treaty and first contact, and the main evidence came from whistleblowers, and also President Dwight Eisenhower's great-granddaughter, Laura Eisenhower, has been speaking on this regularly, trying to get this out to the public, in reference to her great-grandfather being involved with the aliens, actually signed the Greada Treaty, and so on. Now, I'm doing exactly the same thing. So what is known has to be revealed, because if not, it's a crime against humanity. Hence, my videos will be ongoing. Eisenhower was said to have been warned not to make this agreement with the Greys by a benevolent ET race called the Pleiadians. He ignored the warning. The New World Order plan is not new. It's as old as the ancient man himself. Adolf Hitler wanted to have a 1,000-year reich. And when he failed, America simply took over. Well, how did they do this? Well, they expatriated Nazi scientists back to America. Others went to Russia, which was back then the USSR, where both countries started the space race. But today the truth cannot be suppressed any longer. Governments cannot lie to us any longer. There are millions of people worldwide who have personal proof of the existence of aliens. via their mobile phones. Some have used video cameras, etc. So man was tampered with and was turned from a primitive man into the Homo sapien. There is irrefutable proof of the existence of aliens. It's all around us. It's found on many rocks, in caves, also in famous paintings. They were even recorded on clay tablets by the ancient Sumerians. In other words, these clay tablets were ancient scripts throughout the Bronze Age and well into the Iron Age. British Museum archaeologists discovered more than 30,000 cuneiform tablets. It is said that the earliest writing that we know of was probably invented by the Sumerians. I was a Freemason for 12 years, which included being a Freemasonic Rosicrucian, where I got to the degree of a Philosophicus. I was also the worshipper master of my lodge, and later on became the most wise sovereign of the Rose Crown, which is a Christian order. And I resigned as a 30th degree Freemason due to ill health and a heavy workload regarding research and article writing for alternate magazines. In other words, magazines that are not controlled by the mainstream media. Being ufologist, and the other magazine is called Hard Evidence. So throughout our lives we've heard of the liberal arts and sciences. Well, in the second degree, the fellowcraft degree in Masonry, it commends Freemasons to study the 7 liberal arts and sciences. Well, they are grammar, rhetoric, logic, arithmetic, geometry, music and astronomy. These arts actually inspired me to keep studying. I also studied the Bible, both the Old and New Testament. The Old Testament is also known as the Pentateuch, or the 5 books of Moses. In the Old Testament is also further proof of aliens and also sightings as such. For example, in Ezekiel, who explained his encounter of ETs in verse 1:6 of the book of Ezekiel to 1:16, he explained in his own language of the then times what he saw, and it was a spaceship. So this led me to see just what did the Sumerians record. Did these tablets reveal secrets about alien life? Also, who controls the world? What was incredible in those cuneiform tablets actually was the stories that have an uncanny similarity to the biblical stories of the creation and God and so on, and actually mentions also the Great Flood, also the giant ark which survived it. But as the story seems to be going along a religious path as such, where did man come into slavery? Well, that means you have to look between the lines. For example, we all know about legal documents, papers, where if you don't read the fine print, you've been duped, tricked. Well, there's a Bible within the Bible. As a matter of fact, all religious books have concealed, hidden messages staring us in the face. It is no secret that the Old Testament indicated God's special relationship with the Hebrews, Jews. However, there is no nowhere that it says or is explained why God loves them and chose them over the Christians and Muslims. Well, the first Christians were actually Jews who converted to Christianity, and the Muslims as well also became an offshoot of the Jewish Christian faith. It is at this point in the video that I will jump forward in time in reference to finding out why we're being led down the garden path based on lies upon lies. For millenniums, the European Jews, and the so-called Christians have been desperately trying to sell the world their lies, saying it was a Semitic Aryan Hyksos, the children of Israel, who were brutally mistreated by Ramesses, the Egyptian pharaoh of the time. This was a lie. It was actually the white Euro barbarian sea people, such as the Alans, the Visigoths, the Sarmatians, who invaded what was then known as Kemet, Egypt. It was a proven fact that Christianity was fabricated upon. It was stolen from Kemet, Egypt. The African civilizations were invaded by Aryan predators who created their own religious societies and sects and so on. Lie upon lies are still more evident than ever before. Why were the blacks left out of having a part in the major part building the civilization of ancient Kemet, Egypt? Why do ancient statues, also paintings of black people, often not look like black Africans? It has had me wondering, why do they look like suntanned Europeans? There are Europeans and also American research teams that have destroyed, defaced practically all the evidence of classical African civilizations. Blacks over thousands of years have been denied their heretical right to be recognised as a civilization that at one stage in man's history was as powerful as any other white nation. The blacks' right to be placed among whites as into their situations and what they contributed to civilization has to be actually put on hold so far, because there are other pretenders of various nations who also are prolific liars, and so now the blacks' civilization and their existence here has been waylaid, put aside. Israel had another home well before Israel was even reborn. And these people were not Jews. They were actually a barbaric tribal people and also pagans. There is an Israeli geneticist who challenged the Zionist hypothesis that all Jews belonging to just one race, which means that being intimately related, they must have a common ancestor in the Holy Land, meaning they have a legal right to claim the biblical Palestine. No, they don't. The geneticist Eran El-Haik had courage to delve deeper into Jewish history. The Jews have always, though scattered worldwide, thought themselves as one. Even though the geneticists who oppose Eran's findings as being false, do not know the politically loaded question of where in the world do Ashkenazi Jews come from? Pardon me. Many geneticists agree that Jews are genetically more similar to each other pardon me, than the Gentiles, non-Jews. Eran El-Haik says he has proved that Ashkenazi Jews' roots actually lie in the Caucasus. And that being the case, then these Jews are not from the seed of Abraham. They come from a region at the border of Europe and Asia that lies between the Black and Caspian Seas. El-Haik bases his conclusions on the analysis of the genetic data, which was published by a team of researchers who were led by Doron Baha, who is a population geneticist in Haifa. This means that El-Haik is not alone in his claims, but he also chose to use the modern-day Armenians and Georgians as stand-ins for the now extinct Khazarians. That means the Georgians and Armenians now basically took over the land of the Khazars who left prior. Because they come from that region, all Khazaria was also the first original old Israel. El-Haik has already received accolades for being, quote, very ambitious and independent from Dr. Grauer, who was also El-Haik's doctoral supervisor and also a member of the editorial board of the journal that published these papers. Now, why would a learned person with a high position in the University of Houston publish anything that he did not deem to be correct? His reputation was on the line. There is also another Jew, Shlomo Sand, who also happens to be a history professor at the Tel Aviv University, who in his book, The Invention of the Jewish People, stated that El-Haik's work vindicated his long-held ideas. Okay, I'll now point out a few facts about the Ashkenazi Jews. 1. Israel or Israeli prime ministers have been Ashkenazi Jews, all Israeli prime ministers. Is this just by chance? Pardon me. I think not. The reason I say this is because, as stated earlier, modern Ashkenazi Jews are not the Jews of the Bible. In actual fact, they are Gentiles. 2. It is a biblical fact that the Ashkenazi Jews were and are the sons of Japheth, not Shem. Japheth, Shem, and Ham were the sons of Noah. From then on, the civilizations all worldwide came from their seeds. Now, in Genesis 10:1-3, the descendants of Japheth were Gomer. And Gomer and his descendants, or the descendants of Gomer, were the Ashkenaz. Now, the DNA shows the Ashkenaz female line descended from southern and western Europe, not from the Near East. So did Europeans come from the seed of Japheth? Well, he is considered to be the progenitor of European and, importantly, Asian peoples. In other words, a progenitor is a member pardon me, of a family line. Now take this statement into consideration. Abraham had 2 sons. The first being born was Ishmael. His mother was Hagar, an Egyptian servant. And in those times, there was no Muslims. There was no religion. Now, why I'm bringing this statement is to show just how ludicrous and double-edged is the word anti-Semitism. Because Ishmael was not the son of Abraham's wife, he was to head up a different race of people. This means the Arabs of today are the descendants of Ishmael. That's the reason. So they are a Hebrew people as well, because they come from Abraham, who was a Hebrew. This means they are also a Semitic people, because they come from Shem, the sons of Noah. So as Arabs are Semitic, this cannot be denied. Then anyone who is against the Arabs are also anti-Semitic. Makes sense. This means that the Arabs, being of Hebrew seeds, have more right than the Ashkenazi Jews to the land of Palestine. If the Jews are against the Arabs, which they are, they too are anti-Semitic. Are they not? Now I'll bring up another word that actually has a lot of detractors within Israel itself, and it's Zionism. But before I do, I'll just say it again. The seed of Abraham, Ibrahim in Arabic, also includes Arabs. The ongoing conflict between the Palestinian Arabs and Jews is as sad as it's dangerous and plain stupid, and very importantly, deceitful. Zionism, being the dominant ideology of Israel, is based illegally, mostly on the land that they seized from Palestine. Zionism is behind all Christian governments in one way or another. The New World Order is coming, and how it is being implemented basically is in the same manner as placing a nation under siege. This being the Christians and the Islams. We are under siege from the Zionists. The symbol on the Israeli flag is a hexagram, before anyone relates it to being the Star of David. However, the secular Jews, as well as many Messianic Christian sympathizers, maintain that it is not a hexagram. While they must be blind, take another look. It can't be a hexagram. Solomon was the one who selected the symbol. How can it be? Well, the real seal of Solomon does look very similar to that of the Star of David. But that's where the visible similarity should end, when you take a closer look. The Star of David is the 2 triangles of the Star of David which lay flat against each other, whilst the seal of Solomon interlocks. Could it point to slavery? Whichever way you look, whichever way you turn, you're shackled, interlocked, hexagram. This sealed star also had a history in the Rothschild family, with their founding of Zionism, they betrayed the principles of the Torah. The truth is that the people suffered as much as Christians during both wars, and also the ones that suffered were the Jews, the real Jews. In 1743, Mayer Amschel Bauer came into the world, the son of a Frankfurt, Germany moneylender. And at the entrance of the door, his father placed a red sign in the shape of a hexagram, which when numerically, also geometrically translated into the number 666. 2 centuries later, under the Rothschild's instructions, the sign ended up on the Israeli flag. Dealing with business, they did not target the individual man, but business corporation, governments, armament companies, and so on. They were even so arrogant to go on and say, "Permit me to issue and control the money of a nation, and I care not who makes its laws." One of the Rothschilds said that. So the Zionists can do whatever they like, and they do. And money is no problem whatsoever. How many people are aware that before the rights of German Jews was to be restricted, leaders of the world's Jewish community declared war on Germany? There was a political alliance between Adolf Hitler's government and the leaders of the Zionist movement, hoping that the tension between the two peoples would result in a massive migration to Palestine. And it did. The Zionists were far more better equipped financially than the Nazis. They might as well have pushed Germany into World War II, which in actual fact, if truth be known, was a continuation of World War I. When people would realise the Zionists, also the state of Israel, would settle and set the start of Palestine's genocide, are actually based on lies that were created by Britain and its little sister America. In other words, Palestine has gone through its own genocide, committed by, as I said before, just a few seconds ago, Britain and America. The same atrocities as the Holocaust of the Second World War. And the only thing you get out of holocausts and murders and so on and massive wars all over the world is to profit from conflict. And this happened as well in the Middle East. In closing off, I think that the word anti-Semitism should include Arabs. They too are the seed from they too are from the seed of Abraham. Wars make pardon me. Wars make money faster than wars make money faster than peace. I'll be back with another video soon, so from the Research Warrior, open your eyes, folks. Truth will set us free. It cannot be suppressed forever, and it won't be. Catch us later.